time for another edition of Bet. I'm your host, Anita Marks, and as always, we've got a great show lined up for you. We are all over the place. We're taking you to Indianapolis, home of the NFL Combine, and Courtney Cronin is going to join us with an update on what's going on with the Bears, as we know they've got the #1 overall pick. Brian Windhorst, Wendy's going to join us. Why? Because this dude on my shirt, it's his debut tonight in Charlotte. That's right, so we'll get an update. How many minutes is KD going to play? So Wendy's going to be joining us. Eric Moody with some NBA plays, and Tyler Fulghum is going to join me to talk about the links. A lot happening down there in Orlando on the PGA Tour. But let's welcome in Courtney. She's in the hottest place in the United States right now. Not only does she talk NFL, but she hosts some of the best parties down there in Indianapolis, getting a lot of us women in the industry together. I'm sorry that I'm going to be missing your soiree this year, but how you doing, Courtney?
We're good. I mean, it's been a really busy day here, Anita, with all the news on Jalen Carter, the prospective #1 overall pick potentially, and the news of an arrest warrant that came out today, and just kind of how that shook things here and potentially shakes the draft order for the 2023 draft. And you know, on top of everything else, the Combine is a marathon of no sleep, where a lot of late nights where you're trying to get information, trying to figure out what the rumors are, what is fact from rumor. And so there's a lot of that going on, and we're only on day 3, so the marathon continues.
I love it. It's one of my favorite weeks of the year. I'm so jelly that you're there and I'm here. But let's start first and foremost. Some of the biggest news out there, Adam Schefter, a number of people reporting that the Bears potentially might trade that #1 overall pick. So what do you know about that? And if they do, Courtney, what are they looking for to get in return?
So we talked to Ryan Poles the other day, Anita, about the potential for trading that #1 pick, and you know, what he was able to do in that moment in validating the report from Adam Schefter that they were, quote, leaning towards doing that. He said that that's always been the direction because of the development they saw from Justin Fields last year, and knowing that there's still a lot of work to be done with this quarterback, and especially having him be able to win from the pocket. But their confidence that Fields is their guy is the reason that they're willing to field offers for potentially moving out of that #1 spot and further down the draft order. Now it's just a matter of what's the return they're going to get. Like, you look at the last time the #1 pick was traded, which went from changing hands from Tennessee to the Los Angeles Rams in 2016. That was a haul that included a 2016 first-round pick, a 2017 first-round pick, multiple seconds. And I think that that's something where the Bears are going to want to look at, like, the very bare bones minimum has to include 2 first-round picks, because the 2024 draft class has a lot of big names and could potentially have some really, game-changing sort of players, especially at the quarterback spot. Like, that's one thing I would think that if Justin Fields, if you stick with him this year and it doesn't work out, you'd be in a prime position by trading the #1 pick to have a 2024 first rounder that you could use at a different time on that position potentially. Now, what can they, who has the sweet spot? I think we're looking at a team like Indianapolis saying that number 35, that second-round pick, the Bears have a big gap right now between 1 and 54 because they traded their own second-round pick for Chase Claypool right at the trade deadline. They've got to be able to make up some of that ground there from the beginning of the first round all the way to the middle of the second.
You mentioned Justin Fields, right? And just a few weeks ago, some rumors out there as well, Courtney, that the Bears would listen to offers to potentially trade him. Were you believing in that noise? Or how did you feel when those rumors started perking up?
I wasn't surprised, because when you're in this spot, you don't, think about this. You never want to be in the spot of a team drafting #1 overall, because usually that means the previous season things went poorly, to put it lightly. And for the 3-14 2022 Chicago Bears, that's putting it lightly. So I look at this situation with the Bears knowing that Ryan Poles is going to do his due diligence to do his homework on these quarterbacks. And that's something that he talked to us about this week, that while their plan still remains to go forward with Justin Fields at quarterback in 2023, he would need to be blown away by a draft prospect to move away from that plan. But he's doing his homework. He's interviewing these prospects when they're here in Indianapolis. They're grinding the tape. They're trying to figure out, is there anyone who makes you stop in your tracks and say, wow, that's something special. That's how he describes what being, quote, blown away would mean to him. But I don't think that there's that guy in this draft class. Now, we know that Bryce Young at 5'10", barely 195 pounds, he's been knocked for his size. And I just don't know if there's that Trevor Lawrence, Andrew Luck generational talent that would be sitting there that you'd want to move on from Justin Fields and say that guy is an instant upgrade. Like, if that player is not there, you're not going to be willing to make that move.
Okay, so let's just assume the Bears do trade down and they get out of that number one. What position are they going to be looking for to draft?
Well, defense is a big problem in Chicago. They were one of the worst defenses, a bottom 5 unit all season long. Their pass rush has been non-existent. They had the lowest sacks and lowest sack percentage in the NFL. So edge rushers, 3 technique, you name it, anybody up front who can pressure the quarterback to make the job of the secondary easier. Because when you have your rookie safety in Jaquan Brisker leading the team in sacks, that's not something it's not a good sign to what's going on elsewhere in your defense. But some interesting news coming out of Indianapolis today about Jalen Carter, the player I mentioned earlier. With that arrest warrant, how is this going to affect what the Bears do going forward with him and potentially, where he falls on their draft board, other teams' draft boards? We do know that he is being charged with 2 misdemeanors, but does that automatically take him out of contention for what the Chicago Bears were maybe hoping to do with him at that spot? Time will tell, and we'll be able to see how they really feel about what they learned from him in their meeting that they had with him on Monday before all of this news came out on Wednesday. But I think in moving back, if you're looking at a team like Houston, maybe in Indianapolis, maybe even as far back as 9 with Carolina, the balance is going to be acquiring draft picks, but also making sure you don't miss out on a player that could end up being a major game changer for the Bears. And, up front, that's a Jalen Carter, that's a Will Anderson, potentially, other spots too on the offensive line. That's another spot, another position of need here in Chicago.
Courtney, thank you so much. Really do appreciate it. 2 months until the draft, and I'm sure this is going to be a hot topic for the next 2 months. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the Combine, my friend.
Thank you.
So we go from really to the hottest places in the United States, right? Like the Combine in Indianapolis, and we bring in Windy, who's in Charlotte. Why is it hot? Because KD's making his Phoenix Suns debut tonight. So Windy, we are blessed to have you on Bet because everybody wants to know. KD coming off that MCL sprain, first game back. How many minutes and what are you expecting from KD tonight?
Well, there is a minute restriction, but the Suns aren't saying how much it is. So, how about that for fun? We'll say this. A year ago, when Durant had this similar injury when he was in Brooklyn, his first game back, he played 35 minutes and scored 31 points. I do not think you're going to see him play that many minutes tonight. A couple years ago, he had a similar injury in 2017, where he came back when he was with the Golden State Warriors. He played less than 30 minutes in that game and had 16 points. Considering the makeup of the team and how protective they've been in building Durant up, I would expect it to be the latter. Less than 30 minutes, and we'll see how many shots he gets. It's really going to be hard to predict with this new alignment.
Yeah, and I'm intrigued, how everybody, this role playing, how that's going to be figured out. In looking at the Suns in the standings, right? They're 4th right now. They've got the 4th seed in the West. They're 10.5 games back to Denver. I don't believe they'll catch up to them, but with 20 games remaining, do you feel that they'll get that chemistry together in time where maybe they can jump up to the 2 or 3 seed?
There's a gap in between the Kings at 3 and the Suns at 4. The Kings have been playing really well. They are on a long road trip. They just got 2 wins in a baseball series in Oklahoma City. It's helped them. They've built a nice cushion there. The Suns don't have the hardest schedule. This is actually the second game of a 4-game road trip. It's the longest road trip they have left in the season. I do expect them to get some wins. I think, though, that they're going to prioritize rest because Devin Booker has had multiple injuries this year, groin injury, hamstring injury, Durant now coming off of a knee injury, and they're always protected with Chris Paul. I think what they would like is to make sure they're in the number 4 seed so that they get home court in the first round. I don't know if they're going to be able to catch the Kings, who are highly incentivized to retain that number 3 seed to get an easier first-round matchup.
Yeah, I like the Kings to win the Pacific. All right, before we let you go, Windy, let's feed the people. You've got your finger on the pulse of this game and this team better than most, considering you're there in Charlotte with a nice suit, I might add. The win total for KD is over under 20.5 points. How would you play it?
Yeah, it's been rising during the day. So there seems to be a belief that he's going to have a big night. Now, they are playing a team that frankly isn't very good. But they've won 5 in a row here in Charlotte. But they've lost LaMelo Ball, their point guard for the rest of the season, to a broken ankle. Durant is in really good condition right now. He's been pain-free for 2 weeks. He's had a long build-up to this. He's had multiple high-contact practices. I expect him to look really good coming out. I just don't. It's very hard for me to predict how many shots he's going to get playing with Devin Booker and Chris Paul. I suspect that they're going to want him to get off to a good start. But the rising number as the day has gone on makes me a little skittish. So I don't feel great about predicting an over there. I think he's going to be good, but there's just too much unknown for me to feel good about the over right now.
I hear you. This is what happens, right? This is why early bird gets the worm, Wendy. Should have jumped on this line. It was, I think, it opened up at 17.5 or something like that. Anyway, Wendy, thank you so much. Always great having you on Bet. Enjoy the game tonight.
Thanks.
We go from Wendy, we bring in Eric Moody. It's time to make some picks. Eric, we just heard from Wendy. Interesting. I might play the under in point total for Katie after that discussion. But the Suns-Hornets game, the Suns are favored by 10. The over-under is 228. How are you playing it?
I'm actually looking at 2 player props in this game. First up, I really like Terry Rozier in this matchup. So you got LaMelo Ball. He's done for the season with the ankle fracture. And so someone has to step up for this team. And Rozier is one of those players I believe that will help fill the void. And I really like him a lot in this matchup. One thing about the Phoenix Suns, they give up the 4th most points per game to shooting guards this season. So I look at Rozier as someone that's well positioned for success. He scored 20 or more points in 6 of 10 games in February. Last but not least, when I look at this matchup, I really like DeAndre Ayton. Now, I'm excited for Kevin Durant's return like everyone else out there, but Ayton has a very favorable matchup against the Hornets. Now get this, Anita. You look at the Hornets. They give up the 2nd most points per game and the most rebounds per game to centers this season. You look at Ayton, he's averaged 22.8 points and 10.2 rebounds per game over his last 10 games. He should meet or exceed those per game averages in this matchup. So those are the 2 bets that I like.
Because I'm just, and after talking to Wendy, we just don't have a really good grip here, right? In regard to how this is going to play out with Katie and what his minutes are going to be. And on top of that, Eric, let's be honest, there's chemistry to develop here, especially in game. We heard Wendy talk about how, he's been practicing hard and whatnot. So I'm going with the Hornets here. Give me the Hornets and the points. I'm not saying the Hornets are going to win, far from it. But I do believe that this Hornets team could keep it close. I'm with you. I've got some prop bets here as well. Hayward, he won some money for me last week, or Monday, I should say. So I'm going to stick with him in his point total over 17.5. He's been playing exceptionally well. And no Ball, no PJ Washington, no Martin. So I do believe he's going to get a lot of playing time. And also, I like Chris Paul over 8.5 assists tonight. It's not just KD, it's a plethora of weapons that he's going to be facilitating. And I think, oh, by the way, he's playing at home. So he's going to have a big crowd of friends and family there. Game number 2, we've got the 76ers going up against the Heat. The Heat took care of the 76ers in the city of brotherly love 2 nights ago. Can they do it again on South Beach? The Heat is favored by 2. The over-under is 215. How are you playing this bad boy?
Yeah, this is a difficult game to get a recommendation on, but I do like Joel Embiid in this game. The line for points and rebounds is at 41.5 points, and so I think this team will be anxious to bounce back from their defeat by the Heat on their home floor. And one thing about the 76ers, they haven't played great on the road this season. I think they'll want to change that in this matchup because they're about to embark on a significant road trip. One thing about Embiid, the Heat have really contained him in the 5 games they've played this season, where he's only averaged 21.2 points and 10.2 rebounds per game. But Embiid this season as a whole has played great on the road. He's averaged 31.8 points and 9.6 rebounds per game. I believe, Anita, that is the Joel Embiid that we're going to see tonight. I bet the over on points and rebounds.
Interesting. The 76ers, 20 turnovers the other night against the Heat in Philadelphia. I think the Heat really have turned this around. They know it's go time right now, especially if they want to make it into the playoffs, let alone have a good seeding. So I like the Heat tonight. I'm going to lay the points. Also, I'm going to go Jimmy Butler, over par. And that's at 31.5. Listen, he's put up 35 par, 6 of his last 10 games. No Lowry, so when no Lowry's on the court, he's averaging 6 assists a game. And I think Bam is going to be so focused in on Embiid in the paint that it's going to open up his ability to get some rebounds. Game number 3, let's talk about the Cavs and the Celtics. This just might be nothing about, I'm wearing KD, not to take away from KD and his debut with the Suns, but this might just be the game that I'm most looking forward to watching. It's the Cavs and the Celtics. Celtics favored by 5, even though coming off a horrible loss to the Knicks the other night. Over-unders 219. What's your play here?
Yeah, my play on this one, it's 2 bets that I like. First off, I really like the Celtics in this matchup to cover the spread. Now, you mentioned, hey, they had a terrible loss to the Knicks on Monday night. They're going to look to bounce back. They're going to have Jaylen Brown back, which is huge for this Celtics team. And the matchup also gives the Celtics a chance to I would say, to start their double big lineup, or double big starting lineup, with Tatum. You've got Brown, Marcus Smart, you got Robert Williams, and Al Horford. One thing about the Celtics, they're 7-2 against the spread in their last 9 games, while the Cavaliers are 1-4 against the spread in their last 5 games. So I do like the Celtics here to cover. I love Jason Tatum in this game to surpass 35.5 points plus rebounds. I believe he bounces back nicely. One thing about his last 2 games against the Cavaliers, he's averaged 29 points and 9.5 rebounds per game. He's also played 42.5 minutes in each of those games. So I love Tatum, and I love the Celtics to cover here, Anita.
Interesting. I'm on the opposite side, boo. I like the Cavs. Give me the Cavs and the points. They're the healthiest they've been in a while. They're playing great basketball, and Tatum has been struggling as of late. Really interested to see what points and what he does or does not put up. I'll tell you who I do like. That's D. Mitch. Coming off that unbelievable game against the Bulls, he's averaged 26 points, 5 of his last 7 games. And I think Smart is going to be on Garland. So I think it's going to open up things for D. Mitch tonight. So I like D. Mitch over 25.5 points. Game number 4, there's a lot on the slate. You've got the Magic going up against the Bucks. The Bucks favored by 8.5. The over-under's 228.5. What's your play here?
Yeah, I've got 2 plays in this game. I really like the Magic as underdogs in this game, so to cover the spread. The line's at 8.5. And the Bucks, they're on that winning streak. It obviously continues, but the Magic is the type of team that would love to snap this winning streak. They play very competitive basketball. They're a very defensive-oriented team. And one thing about Orlando, they're actually 4-1 against the spread in their last 5 road games. 19-7 against the spread in their last 26 games played on 1 day's rest. So I do like the Magic, and I'm taking the points with them. I also like the under in this matchup. It really boils down to this, Anita, for where you've got the Bucks. They're a very strong defensive team, but surprisingly, the Magic are a very strong defensive team as well. They finished the month of February with a defensive rating of 108.2. Only the Bulls and the Bucks had a higher defensive rating, so I do like the under in this matchup, given how these 2 teams play defense.
Yeah, lockstep with you. The Magic, their under has hit 8 of their last 9 games. And also, since this is a back-to-back, second of a back-to-back for the Bucks, I don't believe Middleton plays tonight. So only time will tell. Last but not least, you've got the Lakers going up against OKC. No LeBron, and just about an hour and a half ago, no AD, if that's what's being reported. OKC is favored by 3.5. The over-under is 228.
Yeah, I'm going with player props in this matchup. So I do like Jared Vanderbilt to surpass 26.5 points plus assists plus rebounds. Anthony Davis is the one who's expected to do a lot of the heavy lifting with no LeBron. Now he's out, and so I think Vanderbilt is one player that benefits. One thing about Vanderbilt, he's been very productive when provided ample minutes. If you look at Vanderbilt, he averages 13.4 points, 9.2 rebounds, and 4 assists per game when playing 30 or more minutes this season. And last but not least, I do like Dennis Schroeder in this game to surpass 7.5 assists. So you got LeBron James that's out. Someone's going to need to act as a facilitator for this Lakers team. And I think Schroeder is a great candidate. He's had 6 or more assists in 3 consecutive games.
Yeah, so I have a small lean here towards the Lakers. It was a big lean with AD. It's now a small lean without AD in the game. I've been saying this for weeks now. I like what the Lakers did here at the trade deadline. I do believe they've got enough depth that they can step up, and I like how they're playing defensively. I'm also going to go Dort under 16.5 points. So that's how I'm playing this Lakers matchup. Eric, this is where we say hasta la vista, baby. Enjoy this plethora of games on this Wednesday night NBA slate. Thank you so much.
Now, you're welcome. It's a great slate. Until next time.
You got it. All right, so we go from the NBA to college hoops. There's 3 games I'm eyeing tonight. Let's start first and foremost with Auburn going up against Alabama. I'm playing the under here. I have a small lean towards Alabama. Keep in mind, they are looking to defend their home court. They're 14-0, coming off a win against Arkansas. And Auburn has just gone cold as of late. They've lost 7 of their last 10. They lost to Kentucky on Saturday, 86-54. They were only able to put up 54 points. So I like the under here. I think it's a pretty big number at 154.5. Probably my favorite play is K-State going up against Oklahoma. K-State, I'll lay the 7.5. The over-under is 141. K-State's won 3 straight. A really impressive comeback win against Oklahoma State. They're looking to lock in that number 2 seed as we get closer to, of course, Selection Sunday. Their defense, top 25 in college basketball on defensive efficiency, and also they're holding their opponents to only 29% shooting from behind the arc. And Oklahoma coming off a tough road win, but nonetheless a road win against Iowa State. So probably my favorite bet is K-State. And last but not least, you've got Texas going up against TCU. I honestly feel the wrong team is favored here. TCU's laying 3. They're favored by 3. The over-under is 149.5. But I think Texas is the better team all around. 79 points per game. They're also averaging 47% shooting from the field. Carr is averaging 17 points a game. And TCU has really been hit or miss as of late. So those are my 3 college plays in tonight's college. A lot of college games. There's a lot of basketball to be had tonight. Let's go from the hardwood to the links. Down there in Orlando, Florida, we've got the Arnold Palmer Invitational happening at Bay Hill. Tyler Fulghum joined me earlier to give us his par 3 plays. Let's listen in.
Should be a great one. It's Arnie's tournament, the API at Bay Hill. Loaded field. You got John Rahm, you got Scotty Scheffler, you got Rory McIlroy, you got all the best golfers in the world at one of the toughest venues on the PGA Tour down in Florida. I want to start with an outright winner. It's Jason Day. The Aussie is 35-1 at Caesars. You can maybe find a better price elsewhere, but if you haven't noticed, Jason Day, who finally feels pain-free with his back, has been able to practice consistently, has been pretty darn solid this year. He's finished no worse than 18th in the calendar year of 2023, and his last 3 finishes all inside the top 10. Wins are expected to be an issue. Day always plays well in those kind of conditions against tough fields, and what might separate the winner here at this event is your ability with the flat stick and your ability around the green to scramble and shave strokes in that regard. And few in the world are better than Jason Day. So at 35-1, I like the value on Day as an outright winner in that mid-tier of value. All right, I'm going to go to the first round for my next play. It's a 3-ball, and I'm taking Davis Riley over Taylor Montgomery and over Troy Merritt. Plus 175 is the price there. And Davis Riley is kind of a Florida specialist. If you go back before the Honda Classic, in which he finished inside the top 30, he had missed 3 straight cuts on the West Coast. Finishes all in the 90 range. All of a sudden, you get him on the East Coast down in Florida where he's comfortable, where he's made his hay, where he's made his cash in his career. Bam, a top 30 at the Honda. So he's someone who can give you value against 2 nondescript golfers here in Merritt and Montgomery at plus 175 to have the best score in the first round amongst that trio. And then finally, speaking of Florida specialists, it may not seem like it, but the Englishman Tommy Fleetwood over the past 4 or 5 years is one of, if not the best, on Florida courses. And with the wind acting up, his experience across the pond should give him an even better benefit in this particular course and event with Bermuda greens, where he's one of the most comfortable putters on that surface. So Fleetwood, top 20 at plus 220 for a guy who's crushed in Florida. I like that as my hole-in-one for my par 3 plays at the API.
I like it. I like what Tyler's dishing when it comes to Fleetwood. Stay tuned for that. I will get to that in just a second. But a few things in looking at this tournament, a few things metrics that are really important. Number one, probably the most is strokes gained on approach. Second, you want to look at greens in regulation. putting, because this is a hybrid type of Bermuda grass that they're going to be putting on, and the stimp is probably going to be anywhere between 13 to 14, somewhere around 13 and a half. Also, Europeans do well here. This isn't a links course, but this is a links lover's delight. So I'm looking at golfers who do well on links courses, and also some Europeans. For whatever reason, they just thrive here at Bay Hill. So where am I going with the winner? I'm going Rory, 9-1. He loves this track, 7 top 25s, 5 top 10s. He won here back in 2018, and he's great on Bermuda greens. Top 10, give me Hatton, another European who does well on this course, and you could get him to finish in the top 10 at 3-1. He won here in 2020. Came in second last year, almost won, missed it by 1 shot, but nonetheless, and hasn't missed a cut here in 6 straight starts. So he's 6-0. So got to feel pretty confident that he's at least going to make the cut. And last but not least, Ricky Fowler to finish in the top 20. His game has been on point. In full disclosure, I always wear orange when I'm on the golf course. I love Ricky Fowler. He's my favorite golfer, but it's not just that. He's been working with Butch Harmon, and so he's coming in. His game is so on point. He's hitting the ball extremely well. He walks with this confidence. 2-time winner in Florida. He lives down there, very close to Orlando. He lives in Jupiter, and he's another guy who putts extremely well on Bermuda greens. So we like to end the show with before I let you go, and I'm going to stay on the links because here's something really interesting. Looking at the weather patterns and what we can expect for this tournament. Okay, weather's going to get really, really bad on Friday afternoon. Winds are supposed to get up to 40 miles per hour. So what do you want to do? You want to look at the tee times, and you want to focus in, and you want to play a lot of the guys that are teeing off on Thursday afternoon, because what does that mean? It means they're going to tee off on Friday morning. And so those are the cats that are going to be able to avoid these horrible windy conditions. Okay, so take a look at this. I've got Shane Lowry over Spieth. Lowry is again teeing off on Thursday afternoon. Spieth Thursday morning. Okay, Colin Morikawa over JT. Fowler, I just told you all the reasons why I like Fowler over Aaron Weiss. And last but not least, Tyler Fleetwood. I like him over Cam Young. Fleetwood, again, he's made 5 of the 6 cuts here, tied for 3rd in 2016 and tied for 20 last year. As Tyler said, he loves this track, he loves this course. So again, I'm playing Lowry, Morikawa, Flower, and Fleetwood because they've got those great late afternoon on Thursday, early morning tee times. Spieth, JT, Weiss, and Young, the opposite. So those 4 cats are going to be the ones that are going to be playing late Friday afternoon, and they're going to have to be hitting golf balls, approach shots, in gusts up to 40 miles per hour. This is what is expected. Again, Mother Nature could be, you know what. So, but as of right now, this is what's being reported. And oh, by the way, you want to put these in a parlay? You're looking at almost 13-1. So why not? Let's have some fun, and let's hope that Mother Nature is in our back pocket. So that's how I'm playing the Arnie Invitational. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to Bet this afternoon. We got a lot of information for you. Again, wearing my KD shirt. You'll see me on Daily Wager coming your way at 6 o'clock on ESPN2. A lot more NBA plays for you there. We'll see you there.